All right, everyone. Good morning. We are expecting quite a few more people, but just want to honor your time and recognize you probably have a very full day, and we have a very full hour. My name is Lori Wolf. I'm the president and CEO of the 4-Acre Group, and we are a proud founder, co-founder of Pick.Click.Give, and now a very happy supporter with the Alaska Community Foundation, who now runs the program. And I'm joined by Jessie Lavoie, who runs the Pick.Click.Give program. And Jessie and I are gonna play tag team here today. Super excited to be with you today. Just as a reminder, I am recording this session, and we are recording now, so please recognize that as well. A couple of housekeeping notes as we get into our time together. I did mention just quickly, you're all on mute, and that is because we're expecting a lot of you, which is exciting, but that doesn't mean that there's not a way to participate. So we'll get to that shortly. So for now, the way that we want you to practice participating is in the chat bar. If you could please introduce yourself so we can connect Alaskan nonprofit leaders from all across our state. Please say hello. Let's watch that chat bar just light up. Look at you, Robin, with all your hats. So fun. Joining us from Sitka. All right. Hello, Anchorage. Lovely to see you all. Let's light up the chat bar. We got almost 60 of you on the call. Let's light it up and see the connection across our state. This is those of you who've been on many calls with me during COVID, this is one of my favorite moments. Just love seeing the connections. All right, and welcome to those of you who are new to Pick.Click.Give. Many seasoned folks on this call. I know you've been in the program a long time, and we appreciate that. Welcome, new people. We are so happy you're here, and that is partly why Jessie and I are tag teaming this adventure, because we know whether you're seasoned or new to the program, you probably have some technical questions, and we want to make sure that we have time today in this first session of Pick.Click.Give to make sure that you are getting those questions answered. And Jessie will tell you all the other ways you can access her to answer your questions along the way as well. Before I get too far in, Jessie, would you like to say good morning? You have the privilege to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm excited for our first webinar of 2021, and I know that a lot of you probably have a lot of questions, just because last year was not a normal year in more ways than one, not just with Pick.Click.Give, but with the world. So I'm excited to do this with Lori and try and shed some light and offer some tools and tricks for another successful year.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessie. All right, great. And I believe Kate Rose is with the 4-Acre team is also on this call. And she and Jessie and I will all be monitoring the chat bar. And that is important because the chat bar is the place where we would like you to say hello and ask your questions. And if you've got cool resources to share and you want to take a moment to share those cool tools with your fellow colleagues across the state, please feel free. That is especially true if you've got some cool promotional materials around Pick.Click.Give that you all want us to see. Just put a link in the chat bar. We'd love to be able to see that. We'd love to be able to see what you're doing. And we'd love to be able to connect the dots across the state. This is a team effort, and we love seeing what other people are up to when it comes to Pick.Click.Give promotion. So please use that chat bar well, and we promise we are monitoring it. The flow of today, I'll spend about 20 minutes or so. I'm just going to watch the clock closely. I'll spend about 20 minutes or so providing some thoughts about the ways that we communicate with our donors right now during Pick.Click.Give, and which is what you all signed up for. So we're going to spend about 20 minutes doing that, and then Jessie and I are going to have some Q&A back and forth with each other, and then we will turn to the chat bar and we will answer all the unanswered questions that we have time for. If we don't get to your question for some reason, which we think we will, but if we don't, then we are collecting all the questions on the chat bar and we will contact you directly. So your question is not lost, even if we don't have time to answer it on the call today. please ask your question on the chat bar. It helps Bessie and I really understand where you're all at and what the kind of the tenor is and the overall questions. It helps us kind of do overall communication as well. So your questions are not just good for you, but they're really good for the program and they're really helpful for us. So please ask away. So with that, what you all signed up for, let's just jump straight in. So, this is our program that has, 3 primary goals from its very beginning. Its goal was to increase the number of philanthropic individual donors across Alaska. That was goal number 1. Goal number 2 was to increase the amount of money that people were giving. I call this the "and" goal. So we wanted people to give through many other means through your organization and be deeply connected to you. And we wanted them to use Pick.Click.Give to extend or expand their gift. And the third goal was a broader goal, a statewide goal, was to raise the level of consciousness about the power of individual philanthropy in our state of Alaska. So as a statewide effort, we wanted to have all Alaskans feel connected and celebrate that notion of philanthropy. So philanthropy, of course, means love of humankind, and we wanted to spread that kind of love across the state of Alaska. So Pick.Click.Give is still going strong with those 3 goals. And your donors tell that story. Your donors are, some of you have really dived in and, really got a cool strategy around new donors. Some of you are using Pick.Click.Give to, again, that second goal, that expand your donors. And all of you, when you celebrate Pick.Click.Give across the state and the power that it has, are all doing the third goal. So some of you have really robust teams and great plans, and you're doing all 3 all at the same time. So that's fantastic. So in a class like this, with the amount of time that we have, we're going to speak more broadly, but I really always want to say in philanthropy that Pick.Click.Give is a tool in our toolbox, and we have to use it well, and we have to use it inside a whole plan. So it's just a tool. It doesn't stand all by itself. If you just wait for Pick.Click.Give to just do it all for you, you will be disappointed. So we really want you to embrace and really think about how it works inside your whole system. The other piece of that, of course, is there is no such thing as one size fits all work. So we want you to customize as much as you can to the right donor base at the right time. So let's get into just thinking about some of our overall fund development reminders. So at 4acre, we teach tons and tons of classes around fund development. So if you have questions about any of these kind of fundamental concepts, the foundation of philanthropy, please contact us and we'd be happy to help you think through many of these. We're going to focus on number 6 primarily today and number 7, but I do just want to remind you about 1 through 5 very quickly. So just said a couple of things. First and foremost, in a time of large upheaval during COVID, during whatever is going to happen with our state economy, during the transition around the conversations around the PFD, please stay true to who you are as an organizational, with your organizational values. Don't ever check your organizational values at the door in the name of marketing or communication or outreach or any of the work that you do in philanthropy. Your donors are attracted to your mission because they believe in mission, and part of your mission are your values. So be willing to stay connected to those. Those will bring you stability in this time of uncertainty. Please ground as much as you can always. Philanthropy, love of humankind. We ground in abundance, not in competition, especially Pick.Click.Give, but all philanthropy works better when we work together. So this is not about the 70 different organizations on this call working against each other. This is about all of you working together to raise that conversation. We have seen remarkable work in this area across the state since Pick.Click.Give happened, where communities come together and they take ads in their local newspaper, they put ads on their local radio, and they talk about all the nonprofits in their community that are all on the Pick.Click.Give list, and they work together. And Pick.Click.Give has been so wonderful to raise that model of abundance thinking. We've seen some awesome partnerships between the local community foundation affiliates and independent community foundations working with their nonprofits. working together with media. So there are some really, we've seen sign waving in communities. We've seen all sorts of really remarkable things. So just really want to encourage you to ground in abundance in this work. Remember that this is a team effort. There's 71 of you on this call, but each one of you has a team. Some of you, your team are a mixture of board and staff and volunteers. Some of you, it's just a little bit of one of those things, but fund development is always a team sport, and Pick.Click.Give is definitely a team sport. I'm not talking too much about that today, but I just wanted to remind you of that always. If you're doing it all by yourself, it's time to get a team. Again, this is just got a lovely little typo in there. Sorry about that. This is just a tool in your toolbox. So be willing, please have a plan and make Pick.Click.Give a part of that plan. It's just a tool in the toolbox. It's a lot like a direct mail tool, except in the modern world, we use a Pick.Click.Give tool. Please have clear definitions of success. I noted the three definitions of the three overall goals of Pick.Click.Give, and each of you should have a good goal inside your organization that you're striving for. Is it you have a goal around a percentage of new donors, a percentage of new dollars, an actual number of new donors or new dollars, a way that you're feeling that love across your donors with the goal of celebrating Pick.Click.Give. Whatever those goals are, you should have some concrete goals inside your team. You may never advertise them outside, but internal communication, having some goals will really keep you motivated throughout this process. So today now we're really going to focus on these kind of three areas to focus on in terms of framing your message during Pick.Click.Give, especially right now. So I'm going to dive into these three areas around your focus of communication, and then a friendly reminder at the end. So let's jump in here. So the first is to know the difference between crisis and urgency. This is true in all philanthropy. We like to remind our donors, right? Money goes through us, not to us. So we are not in crisis. If you go out there and say, we're going to close our doors if you don't give us money, right? You're basically saying, we're a big black hole with a big sinking ship. Boy, you should just throw more money into that big black hole, that big sinking ship. That message might work once. That message is a crisis message. It is not the long-term, reliable, stable message that you want to give, especially in a Pick.Click.Give model where the gift doesn't actually come until 9 months from now. So that message, Pick.Click.Give is not going to save you if that is the situation that you're in. So using messages like that are super not helpful. Your community can be in crisis. You need to be rock solid. So know the difference between crisis and urgency. Can your community be in crisis? It sure can. Are there lots of things to be in crisis about right now? Absolutely, right? But know that difference. You're there to respond. You're there to help fix the needs in your community, to help meet the needs in your community. You're there to deliver mission. Your message has to be solid. So don't dive into that crisis space. Respond to the crisis. Be there, know that you are, so then urgency is all around how you're ready, you're prepared, you're positioned well. You are part of the solution, not a piece of the problem, right? So if you're going to state a problem, be sure to help your donors feel like Pick.Click.Give is part of the solution, that they themselves are part of that solution. So really be mindful here between crisis and urgency. It is tempting to jump on that crisis messaging space. I guarantee you it will not serve you in the long run. And especially again, in that Pick.Click.Give model where the gifts are delayed, it's the wrong message right now. Again, acknowledging what's going on, not being tone deaf to what's going on in your community. Absolutely, please acknowledge what's happening in your community. Alaskans are definitely in a state of change right now. Okay. So overall, then we're talking about being persistent, consistent, and intentional with your message. If I click on your website, if I get a piece of mail from you, if I get a phone call from you, if I get an email from you, if I click on your social media pages, I should feel that consistent messaging from you. I should feel that persistent messaging from you. I don't want you to go dark. I want to hear from you, right? And very intentional. Again, are you talking to new donors? Are you talking to recurring donors? Are you talking to donors who are going to give the and gift? Who are you talking to? So that intentionality of your communication, being really clear who you're talking to If you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. So be really clear about especially if you're going to spend money on a communication tool. Be intentional. There's no such thing as my community in communication. We focus our messaging. So be clear about who you're trying to talk to. And above all, be action oriented. Be clear about what you would like the person that you're talking to do. And in this case, the action is to go and file for their PFD and pick, click, and give. That's the intention. So don't forget to say that. You'd be so surprised if you kind of looked at the landscape of communications that come from our nonprofits. They say amazing things, but there's no call to action. So we've got a lot of conversation going, but not a lot of focused action happening. So the action here is really clear, and we can all use it. Taken to the next one, and part of this, of course, is understanding the difference between emotional motivations for people giving. Just really quickly, this is something that we teach in our Foiker classes, but when people make their very first gift, they make it out of impulse or emotion. Pick.Click.Give is fabulous for that. That's why it attracts so many new donors. People are like, on their Pick.Click, they're filling out their PFD and they get the information for Pick.Click.Give and they go like, oh, that sounds amazing. I love such and such. And then they go looking for such and such, and then they pick it, right? So that's impulse or emotion. You can help people be excited about that, letting them know you're on the list, letting them know that it feels really good, celebrating with them when they do it, getting people to say that they did it after they did it, so you're not waiting for the list to know it, right? So creating strategies where people tell you and acknowledge that they've participated. Then you're also going to have donors who are their annual donors. They've been using Pick.Click.Give and been donating to you for a long time. That's a healthy habit. Pick.Click.Give has become a healthy habit for people. Yay, that's amazing, because the holy grail in fund development is donor retention. So this has become a donor retention tool for so many. I know, as for me, every year I couldn't imagine filing for my PFD without Pick.Click and Giving. That's just what I do. It's part of my habit. So you want to tap into that with your conversations and your communications with your donors. And then if you're using that and strategy, that Pick.Click.Give is this place where people can increase their gift, because now is the time to increase your gift because you are meeting the extra demands of COVID, or you have had to close your doors because of COVID in the name of public health. Having people make that rational choice to increase their gift. Make sure you're focusing your language on the donor group that you're talking to. You can see just through this example why one message to everyone is not going to work. So the more you can focus your message, the more you can use your donor database to actually focus your message, the better off you'll be. I'm not talking about those other two because they don't apply to Pick.Click.Give, but you should just see those other choices as well. We focus on transformation, not transaction. Nobody is buying anything. Philanthropy is not about buying stuff. This is an emotional act, not a financial transaction. They're not buying a pencil. They're not buying soup. They're not buying a coat. They're not buying shelter. They are investing in mission and changing people's lives. You need to talk about that. Talk about the difference the gift makes, not the money. The money makes the gift happen. The money makes mission happen. But if we focus on that idea that it's a transaction, then we lose that philanthropic greater gift notion. So donors are investing in a world that they care about. Your job is to, with your language, to inspire change and help them be a part of that change. Right? One of the tools we use in this conversation is we say, if you're going to put out statistics, put a story with it. Better yet, focus on the story, leave the statistics behind if you only have a short moment of time. If you're going to talk about a fact, make sure you put feelings next to it. So we say stories with any statistics, feelings with all of your facts. Make sure you connect those dots. Be very, very, very careful, friends, of the overhead myth. The overhead myth, you can Google it if that's new to you. That overhead myth is that notion that nonprofits are supposed to do amazing, incredible work with no heat, no lights, and no paid staff. You're supposed to just do all of the amazing things for free. And we do, and while the greater world kind of gives us overhead myth, we also give it to ourselves. So the way we give overhead myth to ourselves is we say things like 82% of your gift goes to mission. Well, the reality is you don't do mission without amazing staff, heat, lights, computer access, Zoom, passwords, all the things, right? And so the reality is that 100% of everyone's gift always goes to mission. So be careful, friends, how you talk about this and how you perpetuate the overhead myth. Right? Again, a good Google search would get you an entire nonprofit in this country devoted to helping organizations overcome the overhead myth. So much to say about that, but please be careful about that. We do reinforce those conversations by accident. And please, of course, don't make promises you can't keep. Don't promise someone, right? If you get into the transaction, don't say your gift buys 32 pencils. Because of course their gift doesn't buy 32 pencils, because whatever's going on in the world and however shipping is flying during COVID and all the things, right? Maybe it buys 30 pencils, maybe it buys 52 pencils, who really knows? So be careful around. It's very easy to make promises you can't keep when you get into those transactional spaces. So stay mission focused, stay transformational, talk about the difference the gift makes. Stay out of politics and prognostications, right? So this Pick.Click.Give is a philanthropic tool, not a political one, right? Is it attached to a political one? Yep, it sure is. It's attached to politics, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're focused on the philanthropy. So please, please, please stay in your lane, right? This is no time in your donor communications to be an expert on COVID or on the economy or on the state of the PFD. That's not your job, right? Unless it is your job, and then do that separately, but keep it out of Pick.Click.Give. Pick.Click.Give is a philanthropic tool. Let's focus on the tool of its gift of philanthropy, right? So stay out of the chatter, right? But don't be tone deaf to it either. Stay connected to the politics. You want to know what's happening as the PFD conversation evolves in our legislature. You want to be connected to that. You want to know what's happening, but you don't want to engage in it. That's not our conversation, unless that is your mission conversation, and then you do that as part of mission. But for most of you, this is not your mission. You might have a personal opinion about that. That's great. Do that as your personal opinion. But right now, we don't have any crystal balls about the future, about COVID recovery, around economic recovery, about the use of the PFD in the state budget. So your job is to focus on the tool as a philanthropic tool. Now, having said that, and Jesse, and those of you who were with us last year, you know that what this means, because it is a political tool, there is also shifting deadlines. We experienced that last year. So Jesse and I really want you to be ready for shifting deadlines this year as well. We could see all sorts of things happen. So we really want you to have a plan and then be incredibly flexible and adaptable to be able to shift that timeline of that plan on a dime. Again, if you're paying attention to the news every morning, you might just do a little Google search for what's going on with the PFD at the legislative level. That might help you know and update your communications plans as you go. But again, let's just be focused on the thing that you're actually an expert around, which is your donors, your mission, and this tool, this philanthropic tool. So lots to talk about in all of these. And if you've got questions, I sure would love to see them in the chat bar. We can talk all day about all of these things as you want to go. The final thing I want to say before we get into the questions with Jesse is just a reminder that it is okay to ask. We've heard this conversation a lot lately. People are feeling like, gosh, this other organization down the street is, just having such a hard time, and maybe I'm not deserving. And, as nonprofit people, we tend to put ourselves last. And I just really want to remind you of a couple tools in our philanthropic toolbox. The first thing is that we say is that when we ask, we have pride for our mission, not apology. We ask with our heads up. We celebrate, we smile, we're excited because money doesn't go to us, it goes through us. No one is giving you money. No one. They are giving to the mission that they care about. So when you apologize, what you are saying is, gosh, donor, I'm so sorry you care about this mission. Oof. Gosh, do you really want to apologize to the donor for caring about mission? I don't think you do. And I don't think you mean to. So I want you to remember, right? One of my favorite philanthropy people in this world who's been a mentor to me says, you have to take yourself off and let your cause walk in. You have to take yourself off and let your cause walk in. You are the connector, you are the catalyst, you are the conduit, but ultimately money goes through you, not to you. It goes right into your community to make your community a better place, to strengthen it, to do great things, to help people's lives, to improve our environment, to help our four-legged friends, to do all the things that nonprofit missions do. That's what Pick.Click.Give is all about. That's what philanthropy is all about. So again, don't be afraid to ask. They need that call to action. They need to hear from you that this is a tool in the toolbox for them. And ultimately, one of the best ways we can do this is to remember that in all of your communication, that you focus on, as if it's a mass communication. I've gotten a lot of pieces of mail myself around Pick.Click.Give, and what I love about them and the best thing that they do is they frame it as if they are talking to one person at a time, right? Really speak directly to the person that you're mailing it to, even if you don't know them, right? Even if it's a mass communication. I should pick up that piece of information from you and know that you're speaking to me, right? And that will help me take that impulse, that emotional first-time gift step, or it'll help me reinforce my habit, or it will help me upgrade my gift. So these are some great tools in your toolbox. I hope they help you start to think about how to frame your message. I'm going to pause here, turn it over to Jesse. And Jesse, if you wanted to jump in, I know you and I have a couple of questions that you wanted to ask, and we can ping off any of these things that I've said here today as well. And then we'll turn to the chat bar. So make sure you're putting your questions in your chat bar.
Yes, thank you, Lori, again for another cram-packed half hour of great information, which can feel to some a little overwhelming. So there's a lot to do. So Lori, based on what you've just presented here, what are some ways we can help get our boards involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jesse. So this is a team sport. I mentioned that earlier. So some of you, you're board members on this call. Thank you so much for coming. This is wonderful to see all of you here. For others of you, you're staff members and you're asking that question right alongside Jesse. I know we ask the question a lot. We get that question a lot. So I'll just say, one of the fun ways to engage the board is by actually getting a small group of board members together to practice your message. Especially for those board members who, quote, don't want to do fundraising, right? This practicing and crafting the message with a small group of board members can be a really fun place for them to participate. That's fundraising. They're participating, right? Another great way to get the board involved is to be able to help the board really right now say, what difference would the money make in 2021? What difference does the money make in 2022? How do we want to take those goals and weave them into our Pick.Click.Give conversations? How do we want to help donors know that the money matters, right? It matters as a tool. So that's one way. Another, of course, way is to encourage, most of us have a goal for our board members to be donors to our missions. So the simple act of encouraging board members to use Pick.Click.Give as a strategy for their board giving can be a really nice way to celebrate the tool and to celebrate engaging, having them know just how it feels, right? And then to share that experience with their colleagues too. Using social media to do that can be a really powerful way. Those are just a couple of ideas. And I've mentioned those specific ideas around, especially board members who don't like to be in the asking space. So trying to help find a safe space for everybody.
Definitely. And I kind of feel like too, and I'm sure you agree, Lori, and probably at least half the people on the webinar here, we underutilize our board often, right? And so it might feel even harder right now to ask them, but if anything, get anything out of today, it's lean in. Then now is the time to engage people. Now is the time to ask. Now is the time to get those board members involved and get them intimately involved in what you do. So don't be afraid.
Yeah,
You're there for a
absolutely.
reason.
Absolutely.
So, what common mistakes do you see or you think will happen that we can all work to avoid, especially this year?
Yeah, so I think I'll hone in on one of the, excuse me, on one of the last pieces I just said, which is we don't, excuse me, we don't talk like we're talking to one person. So our messages are so generic, they just fly right over people. They don't know what we're talking to them. So focusing in on those messages where we really go like, no, I mean you, I mean you, new donor. I mean you, renewing donor. I mean, so again, so for a strategy, for example, if I wanted to talk to get be excited about new donors, I might tap into my volunteer pool. Um, or some people who haven't been able to volunteer because of COVID, because they've been keeping a safe distance and for everyone's public health. Pick.Click.Give could be a way that they could reconnect, for example. Might be they never done that before. So I want a really focused message to them. Let's see, what the most common mistake I see is not focusing our message. Thinking, and the second most common mistake I think is that organizations think it's about them and not about their donors. And so all the messaging is about basically like, Fork is amazing. We are incredible. We do this and we do this and we do this and you give money. And the only time we ever speak to the donor is when we're talking about their money. So we treat them like essentially like walking checkbooks, ATM machines, right? And we don't really engage the donor in the conversation of mission. The donor isn't just money, the donor is mission. So really connecting those dots together. Really, those are some of the most common mistakes that I see.
Definitely, and definitely, and with Pick.Click.Give too, right? We kind of think of Pick.Click.Give a little bit differently, but ultimately your donors are engaging with this platform as well. So however you're treating them outside of this platform really should map over to how you're treating them in this platform as well, because it's just another way to give. So
100%. And I would also say, right, our donors who are participating in Pick.Click.Give, for the most part, I know you'll share data here in a moment, but they're giving to multiple organizations. So that competition stuff has no place in any of our philanthropic work, but it especially has no place here. You want to celebrate that donors are picking many things that they care about, and that's great. Right?
Definitely. So feel free to put those questions in the chat box. I will also periodically put in the email that you can reach me at in case we don't get to your question. We apologize. There's a lot of you and you may have a lot of questions. So feel free to start filling that up. Lori, do you feel like we have to have some sort of big plan or a lot of people to implement these ideas you shared? This seems really overwhelming for one person to do.
Yeah. So I'm a fan of filling up a PowerPoint slide because what I think is that usually someone goes like, oh, that thing, right? It's the one point that goes, oh, great, right? So of course not. Most of our organizations really want to remind everyone, right? Of the 6,000 nonprofits we have in our state, only 1,200 of them or so have staff, right? So we're really talking about, and lots of our folks have pared down their staff given COVID life. So just a reminder, right? We don't need a big team. We don't need to be super sophisticated, but we do need a plan. So even if your plan, fits on half of a piece of paper, that's a plan. So I want you to have a plan, really important. And a plan is not just a set of asking strategies. A plan is a document that connects the donor, the communication, and the asking strategy. So connect them all together, right? Can you be super sophisticated and talk to all three different kinds of donors and do all the different things? Which you sure can, and some do. But for everyone else on the call, what I'd really say is go into each of these slides and just go like, what's the key point of that piece of the conversation I want to make sure I'm implementing. So pick one or two or three key points and be simple and stay focused.
Great. All right, we have some questions popping up in the chat bar. Robin, thank you. This is good. So she asks, Jesse, can you talk about your timeline for providing Pick.Click.Give organizations with information on pledges? So for our seasoned organizations, you'll know that you'll have pledge reports that come out as well as donor reports. And then there's actually an online platform of just your kind of the bottom line, how are you sitting this year, number, no donor info reports. So the online ones, which I'll send out in an email to this group, will be updated by the end of the week. Those are updated monthly. Again, it's just your bottom of the line, where you sit right now, no donor information, and some basic information of how you've done in previous years. The pledge list that Robin's probably referring to is that donor information. So that comes out at the end of April. So we have to give the PhD division time to settle some things up, provide us with that information. We email it out to the contacts in our Pick.Click.Give database. So look for that between the middle to end of April. It'll be an emailed Excel file, and I'll have the donor information unless they marked it anonymous, which there's nothing we can do about that other than respect their wishes. It'll include email, phone number, how much they donated, and your information.
Hey, Jesse, this is Lori. Can I just jump in on the anonymous donor moment?
Yes, please do.
So we've seen some really creative strategies over the years of nonprofits working to engage and to thank their anonymous donors. We all have them. Some of them, we have them less accidentally than we used to have them. That's a nice fix on the Pick.Click.Give application. But we still have them, and that's great. People give for lots of reasons, and public acknowledgement is not always one of them, and that's wonderful. We want to honor and respect that. I have seen the use of newsletters, paper and electronic, whatever your strategy is, and the use of social media to do a shout out. Groups who have a lot of anonymous donors use those tools to shout out and say, like, we had 400 anonymous donors, and yay, we love you. And so they have a communication strategy just for that purpose. So I don't want to, don't think that just because they're anonymous, you don't have to acknowledge the volume of them, if that is true for you. I know one of our organizations, Friends of Pets, who always participates really deeply in Pick.Click.Give, they do a really nice job at acknowledging their anonymous donors. So just a tool for us all to recognize. Again, that's one of those fun things that it's working for them. It probably could work for you too. So we want to learn from each other. Jesse, while we're on the topic of kind of just the nuts and bolts, the program has evolved over the years. Can you share a little bit more about the kind of the data? What do we know about donor behavior? What do we know about multiple giving and timing and those kinds of things? Can you share a little bit of that, and then we'll turn back to the questions on the chat?
Yeah. We know what the numbers tell us, and we can make a lot of assumptions, and we try not to do that, right? Because we just don't know all the facts. So what we're seeing is that, just kind of going high level and further in, so for example, last year, it was a crazy year. I think everyone can agree in more ways than one, Pick.Click.Give being no exception to that. We had seen, a pandemic come in the middle of the campaign. We had seen the governor push up the deadline or the payout of the PhD early in an effort to help Alaskans with the economic crisis. That in turn moved up the pledge deadline from August to, I think we had it in the middle of June. And you'd think that that'd be a lot of roadblocks in the way and prevent a lot of people from giving. But in fact, you all raised more last year in 2020 than you did in 2019. So that's remarkable. It is not something that we were expecting at ACF. We were going to just kind of be happy with how things settled, because knowing the struggles and the issues going on last year, we didn't want to ask too much, particularly of our nonprofits. So we left it to you because you're the experts, and donors leaned in. They saw your need, and they absolutely, picked up the ball and ran with it. And so it was only, I think, about $2,000 more than 2019, but that's still incredibly remarkable. So what that tells us is people are willing to give even in times of crisis, when you feel like, people are struggling and the unemployment rate is high, and we have an economic crisis that just can't seem to go away. And then we have a pandemic on top of it all. The community really leaned in and supported you all. So that's really telling. Real quick, because this is related. Hello, what is the actual new early PFE date? That's not a thing now. So that only happened last year, and he moved it, I think, was it to July 1st for the payout versus October. So we don't anticipate that happening again, but we need to be ready to react in case it does. Other things that we know, it seems like the last several years, and the PhD was less, thank you, Janice. Last several years, we also kind of keep track of some of these other data points that I like to see that really tell the health of the program and give just an insight into the giving in Alaska, and it's the donors per dollar. So how much is each person giving? And that has climbed over the years. So it was like $98 per person. And then last year we had a high of $115 per person. So, and that's with this fluctuating PFD amount, right? So it's getting harder and harder to predict this, this difficult PFD, but it doesn't seem like that's deterring those that are using the program and supporting you. So they're giving more despite the uncertainty of the PFD amount, which is encouraging as well. And that's kind of been shown over the last 5 years. We see a lot of people, probably 40 to 50%, give to more than one organization. And it probably is a convenience factor for them through the PFD to be able to do that, but also shows that they're trying to support the community in more ways than one. And so that kind of really lends it working together instead of working against each other, which I think we do really well anyway. And really trying to lean in and engage those donors where they want to be engaged, knowing that they might be giving to Friends of Pets and they might be giving to the Alzheimer's Resource of Alaska. Who knows? That's okay. That's really kind of the pieces we've been able to pull. We are trying to kind of dig deeper into the data, but until we can't have personal information, it's harder to get the demographics, but we're working on it. But what we're able to see high level is encouraging, and it shows that this tool works for you.
Awesome.
Laura, you have anything to add?
No, I think that's super helpful. I have always, I really think of Pick.Click.Give like we would have, those of you who've been in the development world a long time, the way we, it's a great renewal tool, and it's a great prospecting tool, right? It is a tool in the toolbox. And I do think, right, if you're new to it, new to this tool, or you've been around a long time, maybe you've honed in and figured out how it best works for you. If you've been in it a long time, if you're brand new to the program, what I'd say is let this first year just be a baseline year for you. Do amazing things, but keep track of them. So, run them a little bit like 5th grade science experiments, right? Where you have a hypothesis and you have a small group of people and you have a communication effort, and then watch what happens, right? And then maybe try a couple, 3 of those different little experiments, so that next year you can really go like, oh, right, that thing really worked for us, right? That was an awesome tool for new donors. That was an awesome tool for moving our volunteers who give their time into also being philanthropic financial donors. Oh, that was an awesome tool for our board members to make their board gift. Oh, that was an amazing tool to get people to increase their gift this year. Right. So I would encourage you, if you're new to the program, or if you're just kind of in a space where you're just kind of pressing the reset button, use this year to experiment a little bit. But do those experiments on purpose. Don't, really mark them out. And again, that can be a nice way to engage the board. Kind of, what kind of experiments do we want to run this year? So I just highlight that, because I think, well, Jesse, you have kind of this overall data. The best data is going to be the data we keep in our own organization. So ramping up this, if you don't have a donor database yet, friends, 2021 is your year. There is no reason not to have one anymore. They're super affordable. They're in the cloud. You don't have to have, what you have to have is the humans devoted to the work. So if you've got questions about that, please contact Breaker. We can sure talk with you more about that. I also want to get to this question, Jesse, from Carrie is talking about a little bit of donor confusion between membership and donations. This is a classic challenge it's a common challenge with uncommon response, meaning that every organization has to have their own response to this. So Carrie, I want to talk to you. I'm going to make sure we communicate offline about this, because I think it could be an indicative of kind of a bigger conversation that we could have about membership. But in general, just for all of us, I think what you want to say is that if you have to be clear, right? These are different. In Carrie's example, these are different asks, right? A philanthropic ask is different than a member ask. And if they're not different, then you don't have to make that distinction. But in her instance, in her example, those are different asks. So your communication has to be even more clear. I often say, right, if the conversation around anything philanthropic starts with, well, it's complicated, right? Then we're in trouble, right? Philanthropy can't be complicated. It comes from the heart. When our head and our heart match up, a gift occurs. We want this to feel pretty simple and pretty straightforward for people. So if you're sensing that, I mean, the other option here, right, and that's why I want to talk to Carrie directly, but into each of you, I could talk directly as well, which is You might stop swimming up the stream a little bit and just say like, great, Pick.Click.Give and membership, those are one, because we're just swimming up the stream so much, it's not worth the human power to make that separate. So your bylaws will all have something to say about that, so we can't make blanket statements here. But just want to address that if it's complicated, we have some work to do in our communication for sure. Just scrolling here, Jesse, what's our next question?
So the 7% fee comes back.
Let's talk about it. That's back to our overhead math conversation. Let's talk about it. All right.
So Lori, I'll let you jump in on this, but what I'll say, because Robin, actually, you have really hit the points that I've always said since being in this position, is that so the 7% fee is there. It's law. We can't change that. ACF can't change that. I can't change that. Lori can't change that. It's written into the to the statutes. It's in an effort to sustain the program. I will let you know that it's not enough, but it's something. It's a lower fee than some other programs that are out there, giving programs, but Robin really hits this on the head here, and that's talk about what that fee does. And if the donor's still not okay with it, Pick.Click.Give is not their tool, and that is absolutely okay. The goal of the program was to increase giving, to spread awareness, and if Pick.Click.Give can do just that and connect that donor outside the program, that's a success too, because we don't want to deter that person from giving completely, but if they don't want to use this program, totally okay. And ACF is absolutely okay with that and supportive of how they need to engage with you. Lori?
Yeah, I again, just reiterate, right? This is not every tool is right for every donor, and donors, they get to choose the tool that's right for them. And so, but I'll just come back to that overhead myth conversation and say, right, every tool has overhead, every tool, because we are working at doing the work, right? So nothing magically happens and nothing is free. Right. So beware of any conversation that looks like free, easy money, because it's not free and it's not easy. Right. So I just think we also just want to be honest with ourselves. But again, your job is not to back yourself into a corner. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to tell the truth about the power of this program and how it sustains itself, and celebrate that, because that's amazing for Alaskans and it's great for your organization. And if it's not right for the donor, give them a different tool. The least expensive tool they can use is to make a major cash contribution to you, or to give you a gift of asset. That's going to be, we know that from philanthropic terms, that's the least expensive way for them to participate. So if they would like to do that, then great. But I want to say, 7% in the grand scheme of things is one of the most inexpensive philanthropic tools you can find out there. So I wouldn't get defensive. I would feel celebratory, and also help the donor give directly if that's the way that they would like to give. The goal is to help them connect to the mission that they care about, plain and simple, not to convince them of anything. Definitely. Really great. Yeah.
Yeah. So any other questions here? We have a lot of great conversation in the chat. Again, Robin, thank you, and Janice, thank you for sharing your experience with that 7% fee. It's not going to go away. So.
Yeah, it's not going to go away. So again, right? One of my colleagues likes to say, right, we resist persists, right? If you focus and fight it, right, it'll keep coming up. So just embrace it and celebrate it, right? It is what it is, and that it's not a bad thing. So it gives us this program across the state of Alaska, and that's good for everybody. So find ways to celebrate it or move on and help donors connect in a different way. Also, it's all good, right? So we have almost 70 of you on the call. I can't believe we don't have more questions. We'd love to. I went really fast through some of those high points. You're welcome to. I'm happy to flip back through if you've got more specific questions around any of those key ideas there. We can also just take a little bit of time. Jesse, do you want to just do some? I know we had one question on the chat about some of the fundamentals of the program, but it's not the only person on the call who's new to the program. Do you want to just take a minute and do a little bit of just some of the basic pieces of Pick.Click.Give and how the program works?
Absolutely. So this again, it's gonna be really high level because it can get into the weeds very quickly in terms of applying and how the timeline. So feel free to please email me, and I'm happy to set up a one-on-one and go through it if you're particularly new or just don't understand the program, because it's a lot. So PhD application opens on January 1st. That's where this program lives. Pick.Click.Give is now an option within the PhD application. Yay! For those of us that remember, you used to have to go through your PhD application and then exit and then Pick.Click.Give, which would lead, like a lot of people would drop off at that point. Now it's within the application, which is great. That major push, what we focus on the most is January through March, because that's when people are giving. We do still see some spikes in January and March in terms of filing applications, but it is evening out over the 3 months now because people can do it online and they're choosing to. After the brunt of the campaign happens at the end of April, those pledge lists come out. We call them pledge lists because the PhD applications are still active, even though you can't access them, the PhD application itself anymore, but things could change. So someone might have their application denied, or they have to go through a more vetting process. And so that's why it's referred to as a pledge and not a donation at that point. We go all the way to August 31st. So you can go back in, and that's the one thing you can change is your Pick.Click.Give donation all the way until August 31st by going into a My Alaska account and updating that information once you look at your PhD application eligibility. From then and until the end of the year, they turn into donations. So I believe it's in October is our first distribution. ACF sends out those distributions, the lists, and so it turns from pledge to donor. And then that subsequently happens for the rest of the year because the PhD division actually takes the rest of the year to vet those applications that they're still working through. So you might end up with 1, 2, 3 different distributions. And that is communicated as clearly as we can, but it is a little confusing when you're getting multiple checks. So that's kind of the tough and gritty of it. Like I said, totally fine to reach out if you have more and more detailed or specific questions about your organization. We have a lot of data to share with you that kind of helps guide your marketing efforts. One thing I do always say with this one, just like Lori said in the beginning, money's not going to fall from the tree. You have to put in a little bit of work. Pick.Click.Give does provide a lot of resources and a lot of education. But ultimately, if your donors don't know that you're an option, they're not going to find you on that list of 600 plus. And so that's where it really is on you to engage them, to let them know exactly what's going on, and that they should look for you. And there's 4 ways to look within the PhD application now. So there's no excuse, but again, unless they know to look for you, chances are they're not going to. So please email me. Happy to set up one-on-ones to talk about how Pick.Click.Give is working for you specifically. I know Lori is available for questions if we need to be. So please reach out. That's what we're here for. We want to see you be successful with this tool, whatever that looks like for your organization.
Jesse, thanks so much. I'll say those of you who've been around for a while, but those of you who are new need to also just know, right? The thing that people have the most, that most angst about is the delay between the making the gift and getting the gift. And Jesse and her team have just done such a great job at helping, bridge that gap around information. So again, I just want to remind you, because of the conversation around communication, that don't let that gap between when the donor chooses to give and when you get the gift be a communication gap. Make sure you're continuing to communicate with your donor base and about Pick.Click.Give, and letting people know and celebrating them and be ready. So when you get your list next year, when you get that list, that you are ready to say thank you. And we'll do some conversations and some reminders about donor recognition and acknowledgement. But that is a really huge piece of building trust in this program and building trust with your donors, is that communications piece, to letting them know that gift has made it where they wanted it to go. So we'll circle back and do more around communication and acknowledgement, but just we've focused here on the ask part, but we don't want to forget that communication also really importantly includes that donor recognition.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think we have time. One last question on the chat bar here, which I think, and I love Trish. Trish, thanks for the shout out about how you're doing better now. This last time around, that was exciting. I think it's Olivia.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so when should you focus your efforts, your marketing efforts? The data would suggest January, because everyone's, hey, it's open, we need to file. And then March, because A, we waited too long and now we need to file. So my recommendation is a heavy push in January, wrapping up that major first part of the campaign in March. Don't forget about February, it's there, but maybe not so much effort like you're putting in the first and last month. And then as well as August, so people can go back in and change their Pick.Click.Give donations. So we usually try and do an August push as well, just that month to remind people, be like, hey, we really could use your help. Can you consider $25 more within that month? And then I saw one quick one.
Tools, yeah, we can do a couple of these quick ones. Tools that you provide. Can you want to talk about the website?
Yep, so banners, you mentioned that specifically, Martha. We don't have those anymore. We don't, we ran out of them and we have not gotten any more printed. And as the PFD kind of moves around a lot, we're trying to figure out how to best sustain the program. And so what we've tried to put most of our focus in on are these educational components with 4acre. So you'll find a whole library of education on the website, and so pick.click.give.org, Nonprofit Central. And then gosh, there's a whole media packet there that has new logos and graphics, and as well as marketing input and education from Brilliant, the FAQs. So there's a whole gold mine within the website if you go and look, which can be a little overwhelming at first, but chances are you'll find what you're looking for there.
I think there's a getting all the questions now and the 3 minutes left. Let's see if we can just go for it. Why not? Catherine's asking us how many people actually changed their Pick.Click.Give amount in August. Do we have that data?
So I don't look at the people, I look at the amount. And so the last 2 Augusts, so 2019 and 2020, we saw about, or well, actually not 2020 would have been in June, that there was about a $30,000 difference, an increase. So that's actually really good. In the past, it's only been about $5,000 to $10,000. But if there's a concentrated effort on our part as a statewide marketing effort, and then the nonprofits part, so far we're moving that needle upwards, and so it's been hovering around $30,000. It's worth reminding your donors or your pledgers that they can still go back in. And then what area of the website to find the logos? That's gonna be Nonprofit Central, and you're just gonna scroll down. You'll see probably like 8 different toolkits there that you can download, JPEG, vector files, whatever you need.
Yeah. We might even share this Zoom screen with you that we made, so you can, every time you get on we have a rule at 4acre. We should share that final rule in the toolbox, right? Every time you you have 3 or more people now in a Zoom screen, because it used to be in a room, you have to say the words Pick.Click.Give, right? So remind yourself, right? This is just a wonderful kind of thing just to have as a reminder. There's just so many great, simple things you can do. And again, engaging your board members, have everybody put it in their signature at the bottom of their email. We're all exchanging so much email right now, right? So having them celebrate that they Pick.Click.Give to give to your organization on their social media, right? There's so many ways to just simple stuff, takes 2 seconds, but it helps just kind of build that momentum. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, everyone, it's 10 o'clock. Thank you so much for participating with us today. Lots of information. I know we overwhelmed a couple of you that you said on the chat bar. Please know that is not, of course, not our intention. Our intention is to be helpful. So Jesse and I are absolutely available to you to be helpful along the way. Jesse's awesome with all the Pick.Click.Give questions. I can be helpful with the philanthropic development communications questions. Together, we can help you and make sure that you're not overwhelmed or confused. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Your success is Alaska's success, so please reach out to us anytime. Jesse and I will make sure that this is up and available and recorded for all of you to share. Please do share it with your team. It's another great way to engage everyone. Thank you all for participating. Please share your successes with us as well. That's my last request. And Jesse, final word from you.
Just thank you again for another great 2020, and I'm really looking forward to 2021. Just like Lori said, not crisis, but urgency is probably the theme for 2021 as we navigate the pandemic and what Alaska giving looks like. So don't be afraid to lean in. Your donors want to help you. So if this is a tool that they can do that, let them know.
Awesome. All right, everyone, have a great day. Be well. Stay safe. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Keep your distance. Be well.